This is an R script. You can tell because it has a .r file extension. R scripts are going to be the place that we record our code that we write. I like to think of it as a Word document for our code. Right? You'll see that this script has a bunch of green text on it. Those green text are called comments. Comments are a way for us to include documentation or prevent code from being ran. You'll notice that there is a pound symbol or a hashtag in front of any line becomes green. And these are comments. Uh, these are exceptionally helpful for us when we are working through an analysis so that we can remind ourselves what we were doing. So you'll notice if you read other people's code that they hopefully have really well documented code, and so that if someone else comes to read their code, they will understand what's happening if the code doesn't tell them explicitly enough, right? And this R script is called R as a calculator. So my goal here is to illustrate that you can just use R like a simple calculator, right? What's really, really cool about this is R does math. It does it exceptionally well. We can see that we've written this line, 3 plus 2, in the R script. But by virtue of writing it, we don't actually do anything, right? We need to be able to execute the code. The way we can do that is either by clicking this run button or using a shortcut. I really recommend learning the shortcut because that'll make you a faster programmer and be more effective with your time and your analyses. The way to do that is by pressing Command Enter or Control Enter, I believe, if you're on PC. And you'll notice after I do that, it comes out here in the console. The console is the execution engine for R. And you can type things in here too, right? 5 plus 5 equals 10. But notice that it doesn't show up on the left-hand side. Think of the script, the .r file, and the source editor, and this big left part of this RStudio IDE as the source of truth. Whatever is in there will remain. So I like to use the console as a type of scratch paper, right? I think back to my calculus exams back in my undergraduate, and I'd have 2 pieces of paper. One that had my final answer, and then one where I just did weird things to figure out the result in the answer. And sometimes you need to do that when you're programming. Sometimes it's helpful to do it in the console. Other times it makes more sense to do it in the R script. It's up to you. But just know that whatever happens in the console won't stay there. So we can do addition, we can do subtraction, we can do multiplication, we can do exponentiation, we can use parentheses, and all the normal things that you would do for mathematics. But we can get more advanced at that, right? R is not a calculator. It is a statistical programming language that borders on the line of general purpose programming language. And oftentimes, we need to be able to store multiple values in an easily accessible way, right? When we were learning algebra, we used the variables y and x and m and b, and they referred to something. And the same thing is true when we're programming. We need to have things that are substitutes and placeholders for values. And in R, we have objects or variables. And to create a variable or an object, we use the assignment arrow or assignment operator. And you'll see it's a less than sign, then I believe it's called a hyphen. My friend Harley would kill me if I got that name wrong, but I believe it's a hyphen. The shortcut to do that is by pressing Option and then dash. It will insert that assignment operator for you. On the left-hand side of that arrow is the name of the object that we're going to create. And you can see here on this example, we have an object being created called x, and it is getting the value of 5. I just kind of imagine that like that arrow is taking the number 5 and just shoving it into the x object. And once we run that, we can now refer to this object x in its value, right? So if we do x to the power of x. We get 3, 1, 2, 5. That is the same thing as 5 to the power of 5, right? So x can store these values. And that's super, super powerful for us. And one thing I will note is that if you print the object or execute the object itself, right, Command Enter, it will show you the value that it contains. So if we execute x on its own or print it, we will see the value 5. And this is really, these variables that we create are going to be super, super helpful for us. Imagine a scenario where you have the simple formula y equals 3 times x minus 24, and you need to solve for y at the value of x equals 5. We can do that here in R very, very simply. We can say, hey, y gets the value of 3 times x minus 24. And now we can print the value of y, and we can see that it's 9. Super, super useful stuff right there.